Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is for you. For me, it is a few minutes shy of 10 p.m. on a Monday. Today I'm talking about smokingpipes.com, Cornell and Dill. I don't know how to say that last name. The company is Laudisi Enterprises. Laudisi Enterprises owns smokingpipes.com as well as I think it's Caldwell Cigars, a couple other things. That line of tobacco, frequently referred to as C&D. I'm not personally familiar with the line, but from what I've seen, there's problems, and I am making this video to articulate those problems and try to, as logically as possible, present why it's a problem, repulsive, unacceptable, and effeminate. This morning, I saw an ad come up for smokingpipes.com, and it was for a specific blend called The Beast. Limited production, 777 tins, odd choice of numbers. The tin itself, let me zoom in here. Not the highest tech way of doing this, but there you see Aleister Crowley, tin of tobacco. On each side of the tin are 4 slash marks, as if a beast with claws slashed it. Now, if you don't know who Aleister Crowley is, go ahead and type his name into YouTube. Go ahead and pick any video that comes up. Probably the very first one came up for me, was fairly accurate. Not a good guy. Born 1875, died in 1947. I'm going to try to use accurate language, ugly names for ugly things. This guy was an occultist. He was born to a strict religious man. Plymouth Brethren, I don't know what that is, but the impression I got from the story of his dad was everything was a sin. That's the TLDR. It's very strict, all rules. And something I've learned recently from going to a purity study with some friends with work that he initiated, a friend at work. Something I've learned is 70% of people who struggle with addictions come from a home where rules overrode relationship. It seems like that's what happened here with Crowley. But all in all, it seems like his dad did some damage. His dad actually died of tongue cancer. His dad was a preacher who died of tongue cancer. Probably not a coincidence, but anyways. Promoted sex magic involving ritualistic activities, occult ceremonies, drug use, opium, heroin, cocaine, intermeshed with these occult practices he was working on. He was actively trying to summon demons, interact with them. And you know what's crazy? Okay, so I'm diving into this because it blows my mind a company thinks that this is acceptable. And I'd like to logically explain why, even if you're not Christian, this is disgusting, unacceptable, immature, not of intelligent substance whatsoever. On the website themselves from smokingpipes.com, Jeremy Reeves, their head blender, in the video talking about this blend, he says incense and smoke would often be used in rituals to create different altered states, of course. You know, the guy's into drugs, of course. And then he kind of speculates and says, you know, I don't think he was successful with any of those experiments, he calls them. But he, being Jeremy Reeves, their tobacco blender, says in this video on their website, I've tried these experiments myself and they weren't successful. I mean, as a grown man with one ring and a nose in front of a company admitting to occultist practice, weird. It's Lent for one thing. Marketing, the logic isn't here for marketing. I looked at this ad multiple times. I was like, is this a joke? What am I looking at? I didn't think it was a real blend. For one, the marketing they put onto this container, the font, those scratch marks, that's basically a copy of the Monster Energy drink can, which itself has a lot of satanic symbolism. If you don't believe me, just look into that. Just Google Monster Energy drink Satanism. It's just right in front of your face. Just once you see it, it's unseeable. You can't forget it. The beast that inspired the beast, that's their marketing. Okay, so here is a guy who comes from a very strict family, and then his dad dies when he's 10. He lives with an uncle or something. His uncle, nice guy, gets 15-year-old Aleister Crowley a prostitute to take his virginity. And this begins a lifelong of debauchery, of who knows what else. The guy ends up addicted to heroin, seriously. It's all downhill from here. I don't have good things to say about this guy whatsoever. You could look and try and find. The only thing I could say is, I mean, the dad probably has some fault in the situation, but not all of it whatsoever. This is not a good guy. So I'm trying to understand why you think this is a good marketing ploy, and the only inroad I can see to that is, philosophically, in his books, he says things like, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Moral relativism. It's a dead end. Emphasis on dead. It's a dead end. It doesn't end well. Moral relativism doesn't work out. Just sit down and think about it for a bit. We could talk about that all night, but the head parent company here is called Laudisi Enterprises. When you go to their website and you click on meet our team or get to know us or whatever it is, very first thing it says, big capital letters, we are Laudicians. Laudician, let me find this photo here. Laudician is Italian from a play. Where can I find all this info? So a lot of this I learned from someone who reached out to me after I left a comment on their ad condemning them. That, like, first question, why? Why was my first question. And then I had something to say after that. And I had a disappointingly small amount of positive feedback, which shows how rare intellect is these days, and a conscience. I had blatant Satanist response saying, one person even said they would offer a sacrifice for me or something like that. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that, bud. That's gonna backfire on you, by the way. I already got it sorted out. The name Laudisi originates from Luigi Pirandello's play Right You Are If You Think You Are, and the character Lamberto Laudisi, who emphasizes the subjective nature of reality and individual perception. The company Laudisi Enterprises, which owns Smoking Pipes, embraces his philosophy, valuing individual tastes and experiences in the pipe and pipe tobacco industry. Now, sure, people have individual tastes in stuff, but morality is not an individual taste. It's not. If I take one of my weighted plates over here and I cave in someone's skull with it, that is wrong. Anywhere. To anyone. I could say, I decided it was right, so morally I'm okay. That's cute, but I'm still going to jail. Or I don't make it to jail because someone else caves me in. This is real life. We're not, when we're injecting philosophy into marketing and your company's essence, and it's tainted, everything that company touches and stands for becomes tainted. Another thing about when I was looking at this website, when you click on the get to know me, get to know us, or meet the team, or whatever it was, I'm not talking about people's looks derogatorily, but you can look at these people on their team, and I would put down money on a heavy-duty handful of them and say, these people, I guarantee you, are Satanists. This person has, I think, a Baphomet tattoo on her neck. She's literally got Satan on her neck. On their company website, another person has a sun and moon, looks very pagan. She's probably a witch on her shirt. Other guys, I don't know if they're guys or not. Their whole team, barring some exceptions, you can look at their forward appearance and you know what kind of values they stand for, and they're not in line with nature, with reality, with normal composure in a respectable society. And you can disagree with that, call that hate speech, whatever you want to call it. That's reality speech. That is truth. It's binary. Yes, no, male, female, wrong, right. Wrong is putting a degenerate Satanist and the name The Beast on your tin of tobacco. Now, I did have, when I responded to this company's ad on Facebook, I had one guy who is obviously a pagan try arguing something with me. It didn't work. He had no ammunition. He stopped responding with anything intellectual and just dropped a meme because he's got no actual ammunition intellectually. I posted it on another group, and this is where I started learning a little bit more, and then I just had to sit down and get this out of my brain because it's just crazy. I got 40 or more responses to this post within half an hour of this post being up. Eventually the post got deleted from the group because it was against the rules for containing a religious topic, which it's their page, fair, they don't want the drama, that's understandable. But I would like the same composure and professionalism from a company. Anywho, I did get a few comments on there that were on the right side of history, so to speak. And I got a couple personal messages, only two. One person just in support, kind of knew some of the details as well, but he was mainly reaching out and saying, right on, it's not right. This other guy, Rickard, it's spelled differently, but he shared the laudisi information, he wrote quite a long paragraph in sharing a link to an interview talking about this blend and just basically talking about how Jeremy Reeves is basically blatantly an occultist. And if you look at the rest of the company, pretty much they all are, from what you can see. And in the video on their website, he's admitting to doing rituals to try it out. He says it doesn't work out, but yeah, sure, bud. Yeah, sure. Something happened. Guarantee you let something in. Better close that door soon. One thing I wanted to share, there was a page they shared with me. Maybe I'll remember it later. But I mean, let me start smoking for a little bit. I've been holding this for a bit. So this is a church warden. Seven Seas by McBaron. You won't be able to get this one anymore. Eventually it's gonna be gone. That was one of the comments. Someone was saying, oh, tobacco is gonna be short because so-and-so got bought out by so-and-so. I'm gonna be fine. I will be perfectly fine. If the last tin on earth is that Satanic tin, I'm not smoking it. And this is something else I should talk about. I had one specific comment from a guy saying, I too am a follower of Christ, but it's just tobacco, blah, blah, blah. If you're a follower of Christ, you know what the first commandment is. Think about that one for a bit. So one of my main objectives here was, let's say you're not even Christian and you're chiming in because maybe you heard people talking about whatever going on with the tobacco and people are upset about it. Objectivity, that word is important to think about a bit here. It's the act of doing something and the consequences are what they are, regardless of your intention. If your intention was with putting the beast on here, Aleister Crowley, whatever, it was purely marketing, Lent was the wrong time. You just alienated a considerable amount of your audience that takes their faith seriously in their life and how they compose themselves. They're done with you. I'm done with you. I'm gonna go out of my way to tell everyone to stay away from this company, religious or not. Because in America, where I'm currently sitting, I know these pipes are sold in Japan and China, and etc. But where I'm currently sitting, we have a company that recognizes freedom and free will, and our ability to construct a company on Judeo-Christian, or not a company, a country on Judeo-Christian values. If this country was constructed on pagan values, it would just be the Mayan civilization again. We would be pulling hearts of people as sacrifices on altars. In Kansas, there's a Satanist trying to consecrate the state capitol to Satan. Doesn't work that way. You don't have jurisdiction there, bud. But anyways, objectively, when you put the man Aleister Crowley or someone of that ilk of scum on your tin of tobacco, that tobacco's tainted because it represents what that person is. And now your whole company represents what that is. And you, as a company, are owning it on your website by saying, we are, what's that word again? Laudisians. So you're saying, as a whole, your entire company does what they willed. So individually, they got their own moral code, and somehow that's a constructive community. No, it doesn't work that way. That implodes. That's not how life works. There are truths. You do have to be uniform with the masses to a degree. Insanity is your separation from how things actually are, reality. Your company's insane. Third time I've okay. I've also wrote about incense here and the symbolism behind that. If if you look up a video, 5 things you didn't know about incense, from a YouTube channel called Heralds of the Gospel, that'll explain some of the historicity of it and the symbolism behind incense. Incense is very closely related to pipe tobacco as far as I look at it. There's another book also. It's called How Christ Said the First Mass. The book's about that thick. Very detailed. It contrasts the rituals of Judaism, the Old Testament rituals of sacrificing the lamb, and how that prefigured the coming of Christ, the Passion. Incense was heavily used, and still is, in a lot of denominations. I'm sure there's the concert-going type denominations that maybe don't get incense involved, although they should. That would be pretty cool. Myself, I'm a Roman Catholic traditional Latin Mass, old school. We still use incense. I'm sure Orthodox do, of course, Greek Orthodox, the old school cool guys do. In the Old Testament, you wouldn't have had perfume, HVAC, air conditioning, good plumbing, anything like that. So if you're offering these sacrifices, the air is going to be foul, probably. And just the people. I mean, they didn't have soap and stuff. So incense was, I imagine, so treasured and beautiful to smell in a world where everything smells like death. I imagine it would have been such a blessing to go to a ceremony honoring God and to be blessed with this sweet aroma. It's all through the gospel in key places mentioning of incense and the symbology behind there. But to get incense, for one thing, you have to wound a tree. You have to create a deep scar for things like myrrh, frankincense, and what was the other one called? You have to create a deep scar into this tree, agar wood, and then it releases its resin. Over time, that kills the tree. It will die, and often they get sick and infected from these wounds, the tree themselves, which itself may produce another sweeter incense. So basically, the more you hurt this tree, the more sweetness you get from it. It's very symbolic and emblematic. I don't know if emblematic. Yeah, I think that's the right word. Symbolic of Christ on the cross, the tree, Garden of Eden, which is a whole deep dive. But pipe tobacco, you have to harvest a tree to get the pipe. You have to harvest a plant to get the tobacco. The good has to be separated from the bad. You put the good in your pipe, normally. You have to bring flame to it. Only through flame will the incense, will the tobacco do its purpose. You have to go through the pain, the cleansing of fire for the sweetness to come out and what is unnecessary to return back to the earth. Symbolically, it's beautiful. And when you go, and this kind of ties back into objectivity, when you go to something with the intention of hurting the tree with malice, smoking it because I will it, that's such a toxic objectivity in intentionality. It's toxic, it seeps into your heart, and it's poison for you and everyone near you. And I think that poison must be deep in that company. I can't imagine a day working at that company. I'm sure there's plenty of virtual signaling and high fives, but deep down, or perhaps shallow down, they are not doing well, I guarantee you. They're probably very sad. Pipe is called a church warden. A church warden isn't necessarily a priest. As someone who watches the door, tends to the land, helps out where he can. He's of use. Perhaps he's a guard. Perhaps he's armed all the time. I know some church wardens. My church has got a good handful of church wardens. I'd like to be one of them. I think I'm partly one. I don't devote enough time to it to say I am one, but I could be. If the time arises, I will be a warden, a watchdog. I will guard the sheep. And that's why when a company blatantly comes out like this, like Smoking Pipes, like Laudisi Enterprises, this satanic company, when they are blatant about their beliefs, I'm going to be blatant about my beliefs too. You publicly put this out, you're publicly gonna answer for what you believe in. You kind of halfway have it out there. Do you got the balls to put all of it out there? Are you man enough? This is the effeminacy I mentioned at the very beginning. I was looking at pictures of this company. Some of them, they look like men with beards or whatever. Some of them, I don't know if they're a man or what. Jeremy Reeves himself, the half nose ring. You don't look like a pirate to me. You don't pull that off, man. I don't think they are capable of blatantly telling the world exactly what it is they believe. I don't think they have the guts. I say this, if you call yourself a Christian, I condemn you from buying anything from that company. There's no good excuse from it. There's none. The gentleman who told me some of these details that got me diving into it deeper, he also told Alan of the Cottage Piper. The Cottage Pipe, I think the YouTube channel is called. Awesome gentleman, red beard, awesome Kentucky accent, just pure gentleman. First time I heard this guy was on the YouTube channel Pints with Aquinas, beautiful Catholic YouTube channel. If you're another denomination, I would check out the YouTube channel too. It's a great channel. The friend connected to me on Facebook also shared this with him. He made a video about 5-6 hours ago today, condemning the company, why he'll the video is why he'll no longer do business with Laudisi Enterprises. I wish I had his accent. But that is it. We will no longer do business with you. I will go out of my way to tell people, do not order from here. Go to the Cottage Pipe, the Country Squire, great tobacco company. They used to have a podcast. I think they stopped that a little bit ago. I think they're Christians also. There was a Facebook group that someone told me, and I thought I took a note of it. I took a note of a handful of things to try and get my brain on the same page, because there's just a million things here. It was Toad and Log or something like that. Oh my goodness. Wish I could find that. But, I mean, that is that. What else to say? What else could be said? I'm supposed to wrap it in a TLDR type assessment. I think if you're an American Patriot, you should not buy from this company. Because if you believe in what America stands for, he contradicts those values. His whole company does. So does Aleister Crowley. We're not founded on do as thou wilt. That is not how America was built. America was built on the sacrifice of lives of men who believed in freedom from slavery, free will. They did believe in religious freedom too, which means you are free to have your little satanic company. I am also free to condemn you and to send angels to torment you. "31 minutes, 30 seconds. I'd like to hear your thoughts if you've made it this far. If you disagree with me and you have the gumption to stand up for what you believe in, feel free to share that as well. I have to make a point of trying to remember to be charitable when appropriate. But as a church warden, there comes a time to close the door on certain things. Prayer is warfare to the last breath. And I will fight to the last breath. God bless you all. Peace to men of goodwill and to the others. May God have mercy.